We have some really good games for games of the week. Packers at the Cowboys.
Classic 425.
Have you seen the slate for this week? How it's laid out? Just embarrassing. Why are they doing that? 10 games at 1 p.m., 2 games at 4? Actually, 1 game at 4:05, then 4:25.
Yeah. To the Denver and Charger fans out there, enjoy your little game, but at 425, it's all about Packers Cowboys.
No, but I just think the spacing of it is
it's annoying. I just think it's the two premier franchises tradition. It's just they're gonna stack up, but they should have maybe 1 or 2 more games. Like I don't know what they could have put. They could put in like a West Coast team in there.
Is it that difficult to just go like 7-5 split?
Yeah, I think it depends on time zones, but you could have put like Giants Vikings at 4. Or I don't know if they want to mess with the Giants because Daniel Jones is taking over, but they could have put like I don't know if the Jaguars, some smaller team, they could have put at 425, just bounce out. But I know Fox wants that Packers Cowboys slot, so I think that's the reasoning behind it. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's NFL; they have the weirdest setup. But
how are you feeling about the Packers Cowboys, that matchup? It seems like Davante Adams isn't going to play. I think Davante Adams, for how shaky this offense has looked so far at times this year, I think he might be one of the most valuable wide receivers to his team.
That first half last week,
God.
Googly moogly.
Jesus, what he was doing.
Dude, City, he caught like a curl, and this City Jones didn't even react. He just ran right past City Jones. It didn't matter. It was Jones, Darby, Maddox, Adams just eating them alive. Like, it was crazy. I have Davante Adams on 2 of my 3 fans teams, so it was a good week. But, yeah, it's crazy because a few years ago, Davante Adams was on the verge of getting cut. Like, he was someone battling for a roster spot. Now he's a top 5 receiver, and he could do it all. So I think now Green Bay, there's a lot of talk about Denver tanking, and like everyone mentions, Emmanuel Sanders would be the perfect fit.
Been saying it.
If this game goes awry and Adams doesn't play, and we've seen Green Bay now with their new front office and how they're not hesitant to be aggressive. You saw in free agency getting Amos, Preston Smith, Darius Smith. They will be aggressive, and if Rodgers starts getting more and more frustrated, which I think you're starting to see signs of it, they could go after Sanders because, look, I love Geronimo. Geronimo made some sick plays last week with them, and I think Scantlin's starting to come along as well. But I just think Green Bay, given that this is a really talented team, and who knows how many more years of, like, Rodgers, I think has a good 4 or 5 years left, but still, like, this is a team that I think could compete for a Super Bowl this year. So if the opportunity is there and they kind of get exposed this week by Dallas, I could see them going hard because I think based on how Emmanuel Sanders looked this year, how can you not make a move for him?
I kind of feel like they got exposed against the Eagles.
Coaching-wise, LaFleur, the red zone play calling, very Sarkisian-esque.
Those last 2 drives were abysmal. I couldn't believe that. How do you not at least run the ball one time with Jones? No,
I could understand why they tried one fade to Jimmy Graham, but man, Jimmy Graham's not the contest to catch guy anymore. Like I don't know what happened to Jimmy Graham.
So it's all fun and games, and it's easy when you play shitty quarterbacks, and then you play Carson Wentz.
And just that the offensive scheme in general, Doug Pierce, some of his play calling.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, Buffalo's defense was lights out the first 3 weeks, and then they played Tom Brady, and they were still lights out. Mm-hmm. I think the Bills win that game last week if Josh Allen is in, right? Because they forced, I believe, 3 straight punts to end that game for the Patriots.
Josh Allen played terrible. I don't know about that.
I know.
Yeah.
He was one of the reasons why they were trailing in that game too.
Yeah, I don't know if they win that game. Maybe if they kept giving Frank Gore the ball.
Dude, that guy. Unbelievable. 4th all time in rushing.
Dude.
Unbelievable. What's his nickname? The Inconvenient Truth?
Is it? I've never heard that before.
What? It's in Madden. Isn't that the nickname, Mike? Right?
I don't know. I just remember during the Niners-Giants NFC Championship game, Frank Gore scored a touchdown, and I just saw Paul Heyman's Twitter account. He just goes, Gore.
Oh, yeah?
The best moments.
Man, that's awesome. But going back to this, right? Like, I think this Packers defense played lights out, but it played Kirk Cousins, Joe Flacco, and Mitchell Trubisky those first 3 weeks. And then they play a guy like Carson Wentz, who didn't really have all his weapons.
No, Deshaun Jeffrey was just coming back.
I don't believe
Goddard
he
just
practiced.
came back.
Yeah, Goddard had just played back. We mentioned no Deshaun. I guess Jordan Howard, knowing that division, he had he's not gonna have another game like that like he did last week. He scored 3 touchdowns. That was very impressive. But I think it was kind of concerning that the offense, I felt like watching that game, they fell apart when Devontae Adams went off the field. And I think that he's the new Jordy Nelson for Aaron Rodgers, if not even more than that, where if he's just out there, it's just a different vibe to that offense.
Because they don't have any, not true number one, but a guy that could create separation on a consistent basis. Jerome was a fun player, and Valdez Scantling is coming along, but these aren't two guys you can really depend on. And you go against Dallas' secondary with a stud like Byron Jones, and I do like some of the players like Anthony Brown there, and Awuzie is also talented. Like Dallas has a stout secondary, so if Adams isn't playing, I think that's a big concern. But look, Dallas has injury issues as well. Tyron Smith, I think, is already out, and Lyle Collins is banged up as well. Not having 2 year starting tackles against a pass rush like Green Bay's, could be concerning.
Tyron Smith, I'm pretty sure, is at least missing this week, right?
Yeah. And Lyle Collins is questionable as well. And we've seen the past when Dallas doesn't have their starting tackles, what happens in those games.
Well, in particular, right? Didn't Claiborne
have Claiborne 7 sacks, the same? He was running the same club move every single damn time. But you do think now with Kellen Moore there and not Scott Linehan, they'll make the adjustments, Dallas. Although Kellen Moore, I thought, called a very poor game against New Orleans. A lot of runs on first down, which kind of played into New Orleans' hands.
Well, I think the issue is a lot of teams run on first down, and then what happens is you run on first down, say you get 1 yard or 2 yards at best, and then you throw an incomplete on second down. You're 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9,
right.
3rd and 10s. It's like you put yourself in bad spots.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if the optimal way to approach it is to go play action or to pass on first down, but it does seem like some of these better teams, they run those quick like hitches, quick swing passes to running backs, and then it's 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, as opposed to being 2nd and 9, which makes all the difference.
Right.
I also think for the Dallas Cowboys, and I was talking to this, you see, my friends they're legends, right? And the reason why I say that is sometimes you could talk to them about the Cowboys and they're very rational. Sometimes you could talk to them and they're super irrational. I said to them, I was like, one of the reasons why I think Dak Prescott has not played well the last 2 weeks, and I know they beat and they covered against the Miami Dolphins, but he didn't look good in that first half. Man, I think they really missed Michael Gallup.
He's supposed to be coming back, right?
Yeah, if not this week, the week after. Yeah. But Devin Smith, I'm sure he's a home run threat, but how many times can you...
Cobb had a bad game, too. He was dropping a few passes.
Yeah, and Amari Cooper, I don't know what it was.
Lattimore locked him up.
Lattimore, I guess don't start wide receivers against Lattimore when it's like a big name. But then when it's like a random legend, play him?
I don't know. It's weird with Lattimore because I think he's someone that wants to cover. He's one of the few cornerbacks that travels. Like he'll go in the slot, but he's really bad in the slot. Like Cooper Kupp got bad in the slot. Like he's someone. If he's on the outside, I think Lattimore is one of the top corners league. But when he goes into the slot, I think I don't know, some of these corners, they just can't make that adjustment. Because you don't see many corners do it. Like Patrick Pearson used to do it back in the day, but he would get roasted. So it's just hard, that adjustment for corners to go from outside to inside. Like not many could do it. Like maybe I think Chris Harris, because he has experience, because now Chris Harris is playing outside.
Right.
So I think that was the reason behind Lattimore, because I think he's like top 5 in most allowed yards, but you got to take into account like Cooper Kupp. Like that game against Cooper Kupp, he allowed like over 100. So I think that stat's a little inflated. But
am I crazy for thinking this Devontae Adams missing this game, 168 targets he had last year? I think ultimately that's why Dallas wins this game.
That, and I do think it's a huge concern how bad Green Bay looked against the run. Philly was manhandling them. I know Philly's offense line is one of the best in the league. They've been a little underperforming, but they have bullies up there. Want to talk about bullies? Even though Smith and maybe Collins are out, they still got Martin, they still got
Frederick.
Yeah, like they still got guys there. And
right.
Obviously Zeke is gonna do his thing, and then Dak with the RPOs, and it's just I could see Dallas bullying Green Bay pretty bad, and Green Bay didn't have much of a response for Philly, and I'm not sure if they're gonna respond there. So those are the two things I'm really looking at, as well as look, Dallas I think still is gonna bring a heavy dose of pressure. Green Bay, I know they've won the better O-lines, but Rodgers' tendency of holding on to the ball, I think that's problematic against a team like Dallas, where you have guys like Smith and Van Der Esch that could cover so much space. Like they'll chase after Rodgers, and I think a lot of things are pointing Dallas' direction, and I'd probably go with them.
I love watching those linebackers in Dallas.
Oh, Van Der Esch in particular.
Van Der Esch is so fun to watch, and even Jalen Smith too, and the occasional Sean Lee when he's out there.
I see Sean Lee. I always like Sean. I think he can start for a lot of teams, but he's loyal, and I think he realizes he can't play 45, 50 snaps anymore. He's better off playing 25, 30.
Yeah, and if he's not relied on to be a guy that's going to play as many snaps as he used to in the past. I remember he used to be a guy up there with like Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner as far
He
as
was a stud.
but also what he meant to his team, like the splits with him in and out of the lineup, it was significant. It's like, yo, they're a top 5 defense when he's out there. When they're not, when he's not, they're like 23rd in the league.
Yeah, I remember in that Atlanta game he didn't play, and that's why like Atlanta scored like 28 points. They were running all over him. So it just those linebackers, you need them, especially guys that they're not just the leaders, but they're the signal callers. They get everyone organized. You need those organizers. So, but you could see Van Der Esch is kind of taking that role. I don't think just him and Darius Leonard are like the 2 young linebackers I'm looking at right now that have just entered the league. They're like the gold standard when it comes to linebacker play. I'm a Deion Jones guy, but I think Deion Jones is a little older now.
What about this tidbit right here? Aaron Rodgers, 6-2 all time against the Cowboys in his career, has never had a grade less than 81 per PFF in Dallas.
I don't think he's faced a Dallas defense this good.
That's very fair. I don't think the Dallas defense has been this good in a very, very long time.
So I've been watching football.
Yeah.
Like they're legit top 5. They're another team. They got stars at every level.
Dude, I just remembered. Robert Quinn.
He made an impact.
Yo, another guy who got forgotten because he was with those Rams teams early on that would go like 8-8 and 7-9. But dude, this is a guy who had, I believe he had an 18 sack season.
This is back in 2013. He's been a little injury prone, but he's still something to make a difference. He can make a difference. Absolutely.
People also forgot about him being in Miami last couple of years.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, he's made some plays for them.
Right.
Even in that Sunday night game, he was making some plays.
He was taking it to Armstead a bit. Armstead's one of the best left tackles in the league.
He's never gonna need to be the primary rusher on that team with Dexter with Lawrence on the other end.
So
DeMarcus Lawrence. That's DeMarcus, right?
Yeah,
Dexter
DeMarcus,
Lawrence is Dexter Lawrence. High grade PFF.
I just taking a
Come on, baby. I need something out.
Taking a 350-pound nose tackle with the 18th pick, not something I would do.
17th, it was even worse.
Oh yeah, like it's just in this day and age. But look, like
they can't rush the passer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you going with Dallas?
I'm going with Dallas. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going with Dallas for sure. All right, the next game. Man, looking at the schedule, I think NBC, when they put this game on primetime, they're like, oh, we're going to get Andrew Luck versus Pat Mahomes.
Damn.
Turns out to be Jacoby Brissett. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't like spotlighting games of the week where I can't see either team. Like, I need to see either team winning. There's not an ounce of me that believes that the Colts can win this game.
Hooker might not play. Clayton Gathers might not play. T.Y. Hilton and Darius Leonard are questionable, and Marlon Mack hasn't practiced yet. So
bedtime.
They're really beat up. I was thinking maybe like to stay competitive, because if anyone knows in terms of like a ball control style game plan, it's Frank Reich. Like I could see if Mack's healthy, they could run the ball. They're gonna do everything they can to keep Kansas off the field. But I just think the issue with Indy is just they don't have much. Like defensively, they don't have a lot of playmakers. Like Justin Houston is going to be a reunion game, but he hasn't looked that good this year. I think Kansas City made the right move getting rid of him. Although it has to be said, I don't know where Frank Clark is right now, but he's been anonymous this season. Just the moves, like if the one team that got right, Seattle and Clowney's looked good so far, but just between Houston and Indianapolis, like Clark has to say, just pass rushers that you expect to create havoc, guys that have been consistently good for years, they just haven't performed well. I
did not understand the entire Frank Clark situation. Was I crazy for preferring D Ford over him?
No. D4 last year. I think Clark's slightly more consistent from if you look at year to year, but in terms of high-end play and guys that can just take over a game like D Ford, just in terms of his speed off the edge, there's not many that can move like him.
I did not understand that. And I think they gave up draft picks to get Frank Clark too, no?
First rounder. Kansas City.
Yo. Listen, man, don't give up first-round picks. Well, then again, I'm going to sound hypocritical here because they have Pat Mahomes. But, like, don't give up first-round picks if you don't have a franchise quarterback. With Kansas City, they could do that. But
Houston, I could do to an extent.
Man, I think he has the same amount of sacks as Aaron Donald because I saw someone tweet out something about Frank Clark, like, where are you? It was like his face on the milk carton thing.
But Donald's still, like, you watch that Cleveland game.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, some numbers are, and I always mention this.
New Orleans fans will tell you about Aaron Donald, by the way.
Right. But I always mention this one thing. one of the biggest jokes in NFL history was the fact that Andrew Luck did not win Rookie of the Year that year, and it was RG3, and it was all because RG3 threw, I think, 5 or 6 interceptions, and Andrew Luck threw over 15. And it's like, yeah, Andrew Luck, I think him and Matthew Stafford threw the most in the NFL that year, and like RG3 maybe threw 400 passes, if that.
Yeah.
And Andrew Luck, they won more games that year, and it was also a situation like this where I think some of these numbers are inflated. Like, yeah, you have the same amount of sacks, but I also think sack totals across the league are going to be going up because there's more passing. Mm-hmm. But as far as an impact, I didn't really see anything from Frank Clark this year.
Hasn't been much. And it's the team that needs him because obviously Chris Jones is one of the best interior tackles.
You think he gets the credit he deserves?
He'll get it eventually because it's only been 1 year. I think eventually, because you got to put up a resume. People want to see, can you do a year in, year out? So I think eventually you'll get, because everyone, when you think of defensive tackles, all right, it's Donald, Fletcher Cox, and then who else?
Your boy's in that discussion.
Gray Jarrett's definitely in that discussion.
Jarrett's
one of the few bright spots.
Yeah.
I love Akeem Hicks on Chicago. Unfortunately, K'Wan Short tore his rotator cuff, so he's out for the year, but he's another guy I really enjoy watching. But I think Chris Jones, like, he's just someone as a pass rusher. Other than Don, I think he's there. He's a little bit of liability against run, but he's someone that's holding that D-line together. But in terms of this game, I do think Indy, if Mac plays, I'm interested to see how much, just times of possession can they, because they're going to look to run the ball. With their O-line, they could cause damage there. And Frank Reich clearly sees that. He needs to make sure time possession, they need to keep the ball as much as possible. And with a QB like Brissett, who doesn't make much mistakes, I think they could do that. Like, I think they could pick apart the Chiefs a little bit because the Chiefs' defense is exploitable, but it's just that Chiefs offense, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a team worse covering tight ends than the Colts. Like, tight ends go off against them, and they just so happen to go against the best one this week.
Second best one. Evan Ingram's better than him.
Oh, all right. Damn, ever since Deion Jones came in the lineup, Nick's just gone.
Nah. I've just been trying.
I think I'm gonna say George Kittle for the marks.
Nah. Travis Kelce's legit. I'm just being an asshole, but I do like what Pat Mahomes has been able to do. Obviously, shocker, hot take, folks. But it's like,
Trent Dilfer proves.
It doesn't matter who's really out there. They're doing all this without Tyreek Hill, man.
Yeah.
Who I said in the beginning, going back into the summer, where it looked like he might be suspended because of his incident with his kid and his girlfriend, fiance, whoever that is, that I thought he was the most valuable wide receiver to his team in the NFL. As far as what he does for that offense, I thought he was number one in my opinion. And him not being there, I legit swung in favor of the Chargers winning that division. And then it so happened that Derwin James got hurt, and then Tyreek Hill came back.
Yeah.
And that completely swung me in the other way. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I do think once they get Tyreek Hill back, watch out. Because now they have a running game too.
Yeah, I think Robinson's been huge. He's been a huge.
And really even Watkins has disappeared since that first game.
I think this is a little bit against the Raiders, but no, I get what you mean. I'm trying to remember. But it doesn't really matter in that offense because everyone's getting a target. Like Hartman's doing his thing. I'm enjoying the Shea McCoy revival. That was such a perfect fit. So it just, with Kansas City, it doesn't really matter who's there. They have a bunch of playmakers, and Andy Reid's going to use them. And I just think between that in this game against the Colts defense, they play a really vanilla scheme. Like they just prefer to keep plays in front of them. They don't play overly aggressive. I just think that's not really going to work against the Chiefs. They're going to impose their will, and they're probably it could get ugly, but I'm going to say it's probably like a 14-point win or something.
Well, the spread, I believe it's the highest, one of the highest on the slates. They're a double-digit favorite at home, so it's going to be interesting to see how that.
I hope T.Y. Hilton plays. I want to see him back.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Man, I wish Andrew Luck was around.
That's also true. It'll also help if Eric Ebron doesn't drop 3 passes again. Oh, you saw some of his drops last week?
Yeah.
Like, come on, Ebron.
It's kind of looking like the Ebron from Detroit, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's close out with honestly, I think it's the marquee game of the weekend.
Green Bay Dallas. Oh, if Adams doesn't play?
It's unlikely that Adams plays, but
it's fascinating.
I like this one.
It's a new look to teams that are really trying to make their mark. They're on the national radar now. San Fran, the team I think that was competing with Cleveland to get OBJ. I remember San Fran had a lot of interest in Odell. Obviously, they didn't get him, but I actually think everyone's talking about these two exciting offenses. I think this could be a defensive slugfest.
slugfest. I don't know about all that.
I think both defenses have played really well this year, and just based on how both quarterbacks have looked shaky, and both offense lines have questions, and you want to talk about defensive line talent, you're going to see a lot in this one between Myles Garrett, Vernon, Sean Richardson on the other side. We got some studs with Bosa, Ford, and Buckner. Like, there's a lot of talent, and we know how shaky both these lines are, in particular the Browns.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest games that I think both of these teams have played in a long time.
Obviously the Browns, but yeah, when you look at the Niners, they really haven't.
The Niners Monday, it's them, the Chiefs, and the Pats as the only undefeated teams. And I know they didn't play last week, but that's big. That's going to be a big game for San Francisco. Coming off a bye, let's see how your boy Shanahan has them prepared. Right? If you want to be one of these elite coaches, you want to be really successful coming off a bye with extra time to prepare. I also think that they have something in this kid, Deebo Samuel. Dante Pettis is still kind of, I don't know what to make of him. They were really high on him. They traded up to get him coming out of Washington. Kittle, we know about.
Goodwin's the vertical threat.
Yeah, Goodwin is 2-3 deep shots deep down the field throughout. Jimmy G, how do you feel about Garoppolo?
He's looked shaky this year.
He has.
But
there was one throw that he made in that last game that they played,
Pittsburgh,
where no one on that team last year could make. It was like a deep drag route over the linebackers right before the safeties to Kittle. And it was like a play action, and he was getting rushed, and he stepped into that. It's just certain plays where I don't think none of those quarterbacks last year could have made. So that's like where it's those kind of throws and those kind of plays. I believe it was like a 2nd and 12 or a 3rd and 8 kind of situation. I think those are the kind of plays that really separates you from the pack.
Right. I think also another issue with San Fran, why I'm looking concerned, Joe Staley is, I think, going to be out for a long period of time.
Yeah, he broke his foot, didn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And blocking Myles Garrett. Look, Shannon's gonna figure out a way, but just
Scheme
sometimes
away from
yeah, like you're gonna see a lot of play action, a lot of bootlegs to the right because that's classic Shannon. I think they're gonna try to run the ball, even though I don't even know who's running the ball for a team anymore. There's a new running back every week for them, but I do think just both these defense are two of the more rising defense just based on their front four and just the talent there. I do think the Browns have a better second there, especially I think Denzel Ward will be back for this one. So I have not confirmed that, but I know he's been out for a bit. But it's just I think the pressure's still on Baker because you look at that game. Yeah, it was a statement win for the Browns last week, but I didn't think Baker still played that particularly well. It was just a Nick Chubb show.
Chubby Chubb.
I think him and Dalvin Cook are the two running backs where they deserve more top 5 considered. Maybe they are already, but those are the two guys when we talk about the best running backs in the league. You don't mention Cook and Chubb enough. Or at least the general consensus.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because...
Well, Chubb just came in the league, so I can understand that. But Cook, I think talent-wise, and maybe because Cook some of his injuries, they get turned off by it a little bit. But would you think maybe smaller markets?
Man, I don't think that matters in the NFL as much as people think.
Right.
Like, everyone has red zone, so you see these guys, and everyone plays fantasy.
I guess because
so
they're young. Look, both guys are just got into the league, so unless you're Saquon, where it's just like, okay, this guy could do it all, and he's played 16 games. Because Chubb didn't really start coming on until like after they trade Carlos Hyde back in October. So that, and then obviously Cook's had his issues, but I think Chubb. Some of the runs he had last week.
He turned the Jets on that long one.
Yeah, he has breakaway speed. Everyone knows I'm his violent runner. He has breakaway speed.
Dude, that surprised me. I can't front. Next Gen Stats said they clocked him as the fastest running back.
And then Baker was like 19 points celebrating.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Jarvis Landry still in concussion protocol. I think that's a big absence if he's not there for them. He had a monster game last week too.
They are getting Callaway off from suspension, man. I don't know what to expect of Callaway, but.
What about do you think it's sustainable for Odell to not lose his mind after, what do you have, one catch, if that, and getting choked out?
Oh, choked out. I did hear about that. But I think if they're winning convincingly, Odell, I just think the whole prima donna thing with Odell's overblown. You might know obviously more than me given that you follow the team more, but I just think Odell, if the team's winning and they're making plays, why not? I do expect them to have a big game this one. I think Sherman's going to have his hands full.
It's always easier for the wide receiver to, and if you guys didn't check out, I have my buddies Sam and Solomon on. They played wide receiver at Cortland. They also took the JUCO route, and they also played with Rod Streeter.
Okay.
Raider legend.
Former Raider, yeah.
Yeah. So, we talk a little bit about the wide receiver, and one of the reasons why you are a diva is because when your team is losing, you feel like, if I get the ball, I can make something happen. So you're right. I think if the more that the Browns win, I think that the quieter OBJ will be. My biggest thing for this matchup here is what is Cleveland going to do against the tight end? Because they have struggled. I don't know about this year. They haven't really played a guy like George Kittle yet. And this is, Delaney Walker found the end zone twice against them. And historically, this has been a team who's similar to the Giants. They just struggle to guard tight ends. So when you got a guy like Kittle, you know he's going to be featured. He's sort of matchup proof. It's like if you're playing fantasy football or if you're watching him, you're like, you know what? I could bank on George Kittle to have a monster game.
Yeah.
Just so consistent.
Especially how Shannon uses play action. Like, he just finds some acres of space on those rollouts. Or I love classic Shannon. He might break it out for this one, the tight end throwback, where it's not the number one tight end. They'll use it for like a number 2, number 3, where the tight end's like pretending to block.
And they throw him backside,
Yeah.
right? Dude, I've
Oh.
seen them do that a lot. I know you have.
2016 Falcons did like 4 times.
Yeah.
It's like one of the classic plays. He might break it out for this one. He only does it a couple times a year. But I think, we're looking at some of the stats from PFF here. I had no idea the discrepancy when it comes to quarterbacks handling pressure. I knew Baker struggled under pressure this year, but I didn't know his QB rating was 43.3. Like, he looked bad against the Rams, and you just saw the decision making. He doesn't trust his O-line. So I think that's a huge concern, especially given the edge talent that the 49ers have with Bosa and Ford. So that's a huge concern. But I didn't know Baker was that big because he has looked very skittish in the pocket, especially when pressure comes.
Yeah, it's easier for Baker to look good when they got that running game going, and I think that's going to be the recipe for success for them. And also, like, Nick Chubb is playing close to like 95% of the snaps for them, and he's
You got to use him now once Kareem comes back in November.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that's going to look like when the time comes. Oh my God, Lockett just made a wild catch. Is that a touchdown?
Dude, Ty Lockett.
I hope that's a touchdown. Oh my God, I have him in captain on DraftKings.
Let's go.
Oh, maybe we can win King of the Beach, man. Maybe we can win King of the Beach. All right,
Who you got in this one?
you beat me to it.
Oh.
I'm going to go with the Niners.
All right. I picked Cleveland last week. I'm going Cleveland.
Yeah? Dude, let's just wrap up with this. This Niners schedule, and I think I touched on it last week.
You're so excited about that. Niners are like your Colts this year, I feel like. You just find that team you got to ride.
Yo, look, man, 3-0. They got home to Browns, at Rams, at Skins.
All right. Well, you got one win there.
Say 5-1, right? We'll give them a loss to the Rams, which actually we don't even know because the Rams still got.
We'll have extended break, though.
Thursday night game turns out. Mike, how do you think that? You think that's a touchdown right there? That was a touchdown? Hopefully that's a touchdown. And then we have home to the Panthers, at the Cardinals.
Wow.
That's a very
That's
dude. They can be 7-2 after 9
Third
games.
place schedule does help.
It does help.
Yeah.
And they also have the 14th easiest schedule in the NFC. I just did a video for Chat Sports, cheap plug, and I put them as my 2 seed.
All right. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of talent in the NFC, but there's no denying the talent they have. Like, I think people underestimate how good their D-line could be and how much it could take over games.
Can I tell you who the San Francisco 49ers remind me of? Kansas City a couple years ago with Alex Smith, where I want to say cruise, but they get a bye week, losing the divisional round to a Seahawks
Or Eagles.
to an Eagles, a Cowboys, a team with experience, a Packers.
Yeah.
Right? One of those teams where been there, done that. We don't care if we go on the road. Maybe similar to when the Falcons beat the Rams. That's an all-time bet of mine.
Wow.
When they played them in the playoffs, I was
Right.
like, yo, there's no way the Falcons don't win this game. I was so
Interesting.
confident.
Okay.
Because I think sometimes when a team overachieves, and it goes back to, everyone knows I love betting and gambling, and I look at win totals. When a team surpasses their win total, it means that they overachieved. And especially when it's a young team like the Niners, I believe the Niners have one of the youngest rosters in the NFC. You get a team like Philly coming in, you get a team like Green Bay coming in, I could see that being something that they're not ready for that moment yet. So I know I'm reaching. I'm talking about something that's going to happen in January, but I just like this Niners team. I'm going to go with the Niners on this one.
I'm leaning Cleveland, not overly confident, but I'm going to trust that D-line. I think OBJ is going to have a huge game.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely, Richard Sherman on OBJ. That should be fun. They just lost Jason Verrett again to IR. Poor guy, man.
Jason Verrett, talk about lost talent, man. He was really a budding star.
He was a beast with the Chargers, and I thought he would be the steal of free agency. They got him on like a veterans minimum kind of contract.
Hey.
Very, nice play on words there, but
Well, there's no steal then. Current defense player here, Shaquille Barrett, who
yeah,
we gotta give a quick shout out. 9 sacks.
He forced a turnover on golf.
Yeah,
that
Sue revenge game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shaquille Barrett, he's just doing it all.
Yeah.